A horse dragging a shovel stood at her cabin, and the rancher said, "You buried my daughter alive." The old horse stands motionless in the yard, leather reins trailing through the dirt like dead snakes. A rusted shovel hangs from its saddle, scraping against stone each time the animal shifts its weight. The sound cuts through the morning silence like a blade on bone. Marlene sits on her porch steps, fingers wrapped around a cup of cold coffee, and doesn't look up when the rancher's boots hit her property. She's been waiting for this moment for 3 weeks. Jacob Carver's shadow falls across her weathered hands. His spurs jangle with each deliberate step toward the cabin. The horse behind him snorts, steam rising from its nostrils in the cool air. Marlene counts his footsteps the way she's counted everything else in her life that mattered. 15 steps from the gate to her porch. 15 steps between accusation and whatever comes after. "You know why I'm here." Marlene lifts her eyes slowly, meeting his stare without flinching. "I know what you think you know. My daughter's been missing 3 weeks." Jacob's voice carries the weight of sleepless nights and unanswered prayers. "Found her locket by your well." Lots of things end up by wells. Not Emma's things. Emma's old enough to lose what she wants to lose. Jacob steps closer, his hand resting on his belt near the gun that everyone in the county knows he carries. "She's 19. She's my responsibility." "Was your responsibility." Marlene sets her coffee cup on the step, beside her. "Until you decided what you wanted didn't matter. I decide what's best for my family. And look how that's working out for you." The horse stamps its feet, sensing the tension crackling between them like lightning before a storm. Jacob's jaw tightens, the muscles in his neck standing out like rope. He owns half the county, controls the sheriff, and has enough money to buy silence from anyone who might speak against him. But here, on this forgotten piece of mountain land, his power feels thin as paper. "She was here, wasn't she?" he asks. Marlene stands slowly, her joints protesting after sitting too long in the cold morning air. "Lots of people pass through." "Not lots of people. Emma. My Emma." "Your Emma." Marlene tastes the words like bitter medicine. When did she stop being just Emma? Jacob's hand moves closer to his gun. The shovel scrapes against stone again, marking time like a funeral bell. In the distance, crows call from the tree-line, their voices harsh and knowing. Marlene waits, watching his face for the moment when rage will win over grief. Jacob dismounts slowly, his boots hitting the dirt with the weight of a man carrying too much grief. His hand hovers near his gun, fingers twitching like he's forgotten how to keep them still. The shovel clangs against metal as the horse shifts nervously, sensing the violence that hangs in the air between them. Marlene's fingers trace the grooves in her porch railing, deep marks carved into wood like a calendar of secrets. "She was here, wasn't she?" "Every Tuesday for 2 months." Jacob's face goes white. "Every Tuesday." Like clockwork. Teaching her what? How to defy her family. Marlene looks up at him, her eyes holding years of watching powerful men make the same mistakes. Teaching her to read. The words hit Jacob like a physical blow. He staggers back a step, his hand dropping away from his gun. Read? She knows how to read. She knows how to sign her name. That's not the same thing. I never said she couldn't learn. You never said she could either. Jacob stares at the grooves in the railing, counting the marks without meaning to. 8 weeks' worth of visits. 8 weeks of his daughter coming to this place, while he planned her future with the governor's son. What else did you teach her? How to write her own thoughts down. How to think about what you wanted instead of what you wanted for her. I want what's best for Emma. You want what's best for your business deals. Jacob moves toward the well, his steps heavy and deliberate. The stone circle rises from the earth like an ancient altar, moss growing between the rocks where water has seeped through for decades. I need to look down there. It's just water and darkness. Maybe Emma fell. Emma didn't fall into anything. She jumped. Jumped where? Marlene stands, following him across the yard. The horse trails behind them, the shovel still scraping against stone with each step. Into the life she wanted instead of the one you chose for her. Jacob reaches the well's edge and peers into the black water below. His reflection stares back at him, fractured by ripples that catch the morning light. Where is she, Marlene? That depends. On what? On whether you want the truth or whether you want to keep believing your own lies. The shovel clangs one final time as the horse stops moving. In the silence that follows, Jacob can hear his own heartbeat echoing off the well's stone walls. Inside Marlene's cabin, the air smells like old wood and burned coffee. Jacob follows her through the door, his eyes adjusting to the dim light that filters through windows thick with years of dust. The single room holds a lifetime of solitude, everything worn smooth by decades of use. Marlene walks to a shelf above the fireplace and pulls down a wooden box, its surface carved with initials that time has made unreadable. What's that? Emma's practice work. Jacob watches as Marlene sets the box on her kitchen table, her fingers tracing its edges like she's handling something sacred. When she lifts the lid, he sees papers folded and stacked with careful precision. His hands shake as he reaches for the first letter, recognizing his daughter's handwriting even though the words are clearer than any he's seen her write before. Dear Papa, he reads aloud, his voice breaking on the word. I dream about running away every night. The governor's son smells like whiskey, and his hands are always cold. You turned her against me. Marlene's eyes never leave his face. I gave her word for feelings she already had. Jacob's hands tremble as he unfolds another letter. I want to see the ocean someday. I want to choose my own husband. I want not be afraid when Papa raises his voice. He looks up at Marlene, his face pale. She was afraid of me? She was terrified of disappointing you. I never hurt her. You never listened to her either. Jacob reads faster now, letter after letter revealing a daughter he never knew existed. Emma wrote about books she wanted to read, places she wanted to see, feelings she couldn't share with anyone except a woman who taught her to put words to paper. In one letter, she wrote about watching her father plan her wedding without asking what she wanted. She was going to marry the governor's son. She was going to run away first. The words hit Jacob like a physical blow. He sets the letters down, his hands shaking too hard to hold them steady. Run away where? West. She saved money from selling eggs at the market. I gave her everything she needed, except the right to choose her own life. Jacob stares at the letters spread across Marlene's table, each one a window into his daughter's heart that he kept closed for 19 years. In Emma's careful handwriting, he sees dreams he never knew she had and fears he never thought to ask about. When was she supposed to leave? 3 weeks ago. The silence that follows fills the cabin like smoke, heavy and choking. They walk to the well together, their footsteps crunching on gravel that hasn't been disturbed in weeks. The horse follows behind them, the shovel still tied to its saddle, scraping against stone with each slow step. Jacob's breathing comes heavy and uneven, like a man walking toward his own execution. Marlene moves beside him in silence, her eyes fixed on the stone circle that rises from the earth ahead. The well sits in a clearing where the grass grows thin and yellow. Ancient stones form its walls, mortared together by hands that died generations ago. Jacob stops at its edge and peers into the darkness below, his reflection wavering on black water that seems to have no bottom. The air rising from the depths smells like metal and old rain. How deep is it? Deep enough to hide the truth. Jacob picks up a stone and drops it into the water. The splash echoes against the walls, but no sound comes back to tell him where the bottom lies. He turns to look at Marlene, her face pale in the afternoon light that filters through the trees around them, then start talking. Marlene's hands shake as she wraps her arms around herself. Emma came here 3 weeks ago, crying, bleeding. Bleeding from what? From running through the woods in the dark. Jacob's jaw tightens. Why was she running? Because you told her she was getting married whether she wanted to or not. The horse stamps its feet behind them, sensing the tension that crackles between them like electricity before a storm. Jacob walks around the well's edge, his eyes never leaving Marlene's face. The shovel catches what little sunlight penetrates the trees, its metal surface reflecting broken pieces of sky. She came to you for help. She came to me because she had nowhere else to go, and you helped her disappear. Marlene looks down into the well's black water. I helped her the only way I knew how. Jacob unties the shovel from the horse's saddle, his movement sharp and angry. The metal feels cold and heavy in his hands, like a tool made for digging graves instead of gardens. He sets its blade against the soft earth beside the well. If she's down there, I'm going to find her. She's not down there. Then where is she? Marlene meets his eyes across the well's stone rim. That depends on how much truth you can handle. Marlene's voice cracks like dry wood when she finally speaks, the words scraping against her throat like they've been buried there for weeks. Emma came here that Tuesday night, but not for her lesson. She was running from your house with blood on her dress and terror in her eyes. Jacob's grip tightens on the shovel, his knuckles white against the wooden handle. I never touched her. Your ring left a mark on her cheek. The shovel trembles in Jacob's hands as memory floods back like water through a broken dam. Emma standing in his study, her chin raised in defiance, telling him she wouldn't marry the governor's son. Her voice getting louder, more desperate, as he explained the contracts already signed, the future already decided. She was hysterical. She was terrified. Jacob's breathing becomes shallow and quick. He remembers the sound his hand made when it connected with Emma's face, the way his wedding ring caught the lamplight before it cut into her skin. He remembers her stumbling backward, hitting the corner of his desk, the way she looked at him like she was seeing a stranger. I was trying to make her understand. You were trying to make her obey. Marlene steps closer to the well, her reflection joining Jacob's in the black water below. She ran into the woods bleeding and crying, and she made it here before she collapsed on my porch. Collapsed from what? From the injury you gave her when she hit your desk. Jacob drops the shovel, the metal clanging against stone. The sound echoes across the clearing like a bell tolling for the dead. His hands shake as he reaches up to touch his wedding ring, the same ring that had cut his daughter's face in his moment of rage. She died here. She died in my arms while I tried to stop the bleeding from where her head hit the corner of your desk. The psychological horror crashes over Jacob like a wave, drowning him in the realization that he killed his own daughter. Not some mysterious murderer, not an accident, but his own hand raised in anger because she dared want something different than what he planned. Why didn't you tell the sheriff? Marlene looks at him with eyes that have seen too much truth for one lifetime. Because you own the sheriff. Because you own the judge. Because no one in this county would believe a mountain woman over Jacob Carver. So you buried her. I buried her with dignity. Something you never gave her while she was alive. Jacob drops the shovel, the metal hitting stone with finality that echoes through the clearing. Understanding penetrates his grief like sunlight through storm clouds, showing him the wreckage he's made of his own life. The horse stands motionless behind them, a silent witness to two broken people facing the weight of their shared loss. Marlene reaches into her coat pocket and pulls out a folded piece of paper, its edges worn soft from handling. She wrote this while I tried to stop the bleeding. Her last words. Jacob's hands shake as he takes the letter. Emma's handwriting weaker than usual, but still recognizably hers. Papa, I know you love me even when your anger gets bigger than your heart. I forgive you for not listening. I forgive you for choosing my life instead of letting me choose it. I'm sorry I wasn't the daughter you wanted. She's not in that well. Jacob looks up from the letter, tears cutting tracks through the dirt on his face. Where? Under the oak tree. Facing east, like she wanted. Why didn't you tell the sheriff? Marlene's laugh comes out bitter and broken. Tell him what? That the most powerful man in the county killed his daughter in a fit of rage? That I'd buried her instead of letting you drag her name to the mud in court. Jacob stares at her, finally understanding the choice she made. Marlene could have destroyed him with the truth, could have watched him hang for what he did to Emma. Instead, she protected his secret while bearing the weight of his crime alone. You could have had me arrested. And then what? Emma would still be dead, and everyone would know she died because her father couldn't stand the thought of her having her own dreams. The power structure that has defined Jacob's entire life crumbles around him like paper in rain. All his wealth, all his connections, all his influence mean nothing compared to what this mountain woman has done. She held his life in her hands and chose mercy over justice, protection over revenge. Why protect me? I wasn't protecting you. I was protecting Emma's memory. Jacob falls to his knees beside the well. The letter clutched against his chest. The horse shift behind them, leather creaking in the silence that follows truth. Marlene stands over him. This woman he's always dismissed as powerless, and he realizes she held the ultimate power all along. The choice to expose or protect Emma's killer. The choice between justice and dignity. The choice she made every day for 3 weeks while he searched for someone else to blame. Together, they walk away from the well toward the treeline where an ancient oak spreads its branches like protective arms. Jacob follows Marlene through tall grass that brushes against her legs, each step taking him closer to a truth he spent 3 weeks trying to avoid. The horse trails behind them, the shovel still tied to its saddle, no longer scraping stone, but cutting silently through the air. The oak tree stands alone in a small clearing, its trunk thick enough to shelter a dozen people from rain. At its base, the earth forms a gentle mound covered with wildflowers that Marlene planted with her own hands. Purple asters and yellow black-eyed Susans grow in careful rows, tended with the kind of love Jacob never knew how to show his daughter when she was alive. She's facing east. Jacob falls to his knees beside the unmarked earth, his hands pressing into soil that holds his daughter's bones. The wildflowers release their scent as he touches them, sweet and clean like Emma's hair when she was small. Behind him, the horse stands perfectly still, the shovel he brought to uncover violence, now witnessing something closer to reconciliation. I killed my own child. Marlene kneels beside him, her weathered hands gentle on the flowers she's tended for 3 weeks. You killed her dreams long before that night. Jacob's shoulders shake as sobs tear through him like physical wounds. All his power, all his money, all his control over the county means nothing here beside his daughter's grave. He's just a broken father who chose his own will over his child's heart and lost everything that mattered. What do I do now? You remember what you wanted to become. Marlene stands slowly, brushing dirt from her knees. She spent 3 weeks protecting Emma's killer, bearing the weight of his crime while he searched for someone else to blame. Her dignity throughout this ordeal reveals a kind of strength Jacob never understood, the power that comes from choosing mercy over revenge. She wanted to see the ocean. Then you make sure other girls get to see it. Jacob looks up at her through his tears. This mountain woman who held his life in her hands and chose to protect his daughter's memory instead of destroying him. The shovel catches sunlight through the oak's branches, its metal surface reflecting not violence, but the possibility of something growing from the ground they've broken together.